Welcome to Spiritual Rebirth Tarot. I'm Madelyn, your tarot reader and energy healer. So good to have you here today. So, in the last few weeks, I have really been focusing on trying to connect with my intuition. And a few months ago, my cousin introduced me to a form of art where you're able to express really what's in your subconscious through scribbling first and then, letting the pictures flow out of the art. And as I have been sharing this with more people, I've found that many people have used this technique, especially as children, to help themselves be more comfortable during that time and release their minds. And so this is the art that I was creating as I was listening to some music related to calling in your soulmate and that kind of a relationship. And so this is what came out, and so I'd like to talk about this from a collective perspective. So the card that came out from the archetypes, which I thought was very interesting, is Kairos. And Kairos, in this case, is all about the concept of allowing a mystic time, that when you're on a walk, when you're doing a drawing like this, you lose track of time. And as you do that, you have entered this non-linear time. And here on this earth, we only capture non-linear time once in a while. But once we go back to our non-physical forms, that is something that we're experiencing on a regular basis. And so this non-linear time comes into our lives in different ways. And so I feel like this is showing that, when we are expressing ourselves and letting what's from the inside come out, we kind of lose track of time, especially during creative pursuits. And so at that time, we're entering this Kairos. Also, when we think of twin flames and soulmates, they have joined together in past lifetimes, future lifetimes. Past, present, and future is non-linear for those souls coming together and connecting. And so at moments we can experience that true soul connection that happens, through the 5D states, going up, from where we are to where we really can be. So I feel like that had to do with this as well. So the Mystic Shaman cards that came out, the first one, number 6, the Blade. I've been getting a lot of this one card that has to do with giving and receiving. And the number 6 reminds me of the 6 of Pentacles, which has to do with giving and receiving. And so as this blade comes up into your life, and she said that, this blade of truth, which the blade has a lot to do with thoughts and clarity of thoughts. If it goes up, it's like it's collecting things from heaven. And if it goes down, it's grounding us to the earth. And so I feel like that was also something that was brought out in this drawing, was the idea of grounding, and that, possibly one person is more grounded than the other. But, in this symbolism of the blade, we can look for healing in our lives. And one thing that the book talks about is like cutting toxic cords, so using the blade to cut toxic cords. And so we can also think of that with maybe karmic relationships rather than those soulmates that are came to teach us a lesson, and then there's a time to let go and move on from that. And then the other card that came up for the mystical shaman oracle is the smoky mirror. And this also has some of that orange in it, and the idea that we can't see everything clearly. And so many times when we're on the path, at least when I'm on the path, I really feel like I should know that I'm on the path. I should know where I'm on the path, and I should know where my path is going. But in reality, everything is still being formed, and is still being formed within our understandings. And just knowing that we're on the path and that we're moving in the correct direction is what's important. And knowing where the destination isn't as important for this time. Because if you think about it, if we have the past, present, and future as one in this non-linear mystical time, then, where we are on the path really isn't as important. Is that we have awakened and we are journeying that. So I wanted to take a little time, asking the intuition to just open our minds maybe and to see more things for the collective. So I'd like to ask my guides and thank them in advance for bringing insight related to the collective for this expression. So one thing that really comes out to me is this kind of like a happy, excited feeling, and that there's a lot of mixture of the sacral chakra and the solar plexus. And so really to take care of our sacral chakra, to take care of the creative energy, the sexual energy, and all of those parts of our lives, having a strong solar plexus, which has to do with self-esteem, self-confidence, having those things opened up in our hearts really helps us and kind of is a foundation for the sacral chakra. And so they work closely together, being right next to each other. One thing about this picture that stood out to me is the face of one person is covered and the other is looking back. And so we have to be careful that we don't, look back to the past in a negative way, and that we're always moving and pushing forward, allowing the things in our lives to help us move forward on our path toward being a better person in some ways. And then I thought of this as a mask, covering the face. Here we have with COVID, and there's so many times that our faces are being covered, and that as we were talking about in this, that everything isn't clear, and yet it still can be very strong and vibrant for us. So even though we may not know, who our soulmate is or what journey exactly we're on, to begin that process, and as we start that process, it will unfold for us. And, when we're thinking of the grounding, and some people, it's a lot easier to ground. They're more of the earth signs, Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. So that might be what this is representing, is that stronger grounding energies. And then the people that are more the fire and water and air signs, a little bit more difficult for them to ground, but they have a lot of more ability to kind of like fly high in some ways. And so we can work together and be a team. And so I'm thinking maybe when twin flames decide to come back, you know, twin rays, as some people call it, as the twin flame or the twin ray decide to come back together and work in unison here again on the earth, either in the 5D or in the 3D, so either together or just energetically together. So whatever way they are working together, they probably have picked identities and earth identities that are a little bit different, so that they're able to approach this work in different ways and bring a unity to their efforts. And here there's, you know, the hinting of a bird. And so again, that kind of points to the air, and also to messages. And that, you know, maybe by her looking back, she's receiving a message about what is being presented to her. I think if this is the woman and this is the man, but it could be the feminine energy and the masculine energy. And certainly as we combine, it's not as much being a man or a woman on the earthly plane as bringing those energies together, the masculine and feminine, and combining those in ourselves. You know, it's kind of like the two sides, you know, two sides of the blade. You know, the blade has, in this case, the blade is sharp on both sides. Also, the blade is either up or down, and that these combine together, the yin and the yang. And I actually like yin and yang symbols that are like maybe fire and water, or you know, air and earth, rather than just dark and light, because I think there's so much more complexity to our lives than just dark and light. And the more light we have, the more the light shines into the darkness, and the darkness disappears. And so yeah, this, you know, this unclear, unsure of what's here. And as we walk the path, it becomes clearer, but also it doesn't need to. You know, I realized the other day, you know, whatever I want to do in life, I just do it all. And as it happens and as it unfolds, something will come out and be the strongest and the clearest in the end. And so, you know, go for it and do it all, and find where that is. So whether, you know, you enjoy art or music or dancing, reading, writing, whatever it is that you enjoy, do all of those things, bring them forth in your life. So I'll be sure and share the link to my cousin's art, which is really amazing. Also to, you know, over time, to other links. There's a link that is of a group on the internet that's talking all about the twin ray journey, and especially Solomon and Sheba as masters who have come to teach us more about the twin ray journey. And remember that, you know, find those things, whether it's going outside and hugging a tree, or going for a walk, or drawing a picture like this, whatever for you will help you to find this mystical time, this time away from time, non-linear moments that will burst forth and help to grow the intuition in your heart. So I pray that your intuition will grow, and I'll see you next week.